The first thing, where do you learn your Spanish? How was it?
I learned Spanish in school, so a very long time ago. So I did my GCSEs and A-levels and then went to university to learn it as well. But I'm not great at it. You know, you forget it when you don't practice it. So, which is where I am now.
Haha. And have you ever been to Spain?
I go to Spain every year on family holidays. Yeah, Marbella. 34 years now I've been going there with my family, which is lovely, fantastic, and I've spent a bit of time out there in the north as well. So, and obviously for the Grand Prix in Barcelona every year.
In Barcelona also. Well, you graduated in politics. Have you ever thought that you would like to have influence in politics in any way?
No, do you know, I'm very busy at the moment looking after our racing team, so you know at the moment that's what I'm all consumed by. So you know you never say never, right? You don't know what the future will bring, but at the moment my focus is on Williams and Formula One.
Imagine that today you have an appointment with the Prime Minister Cameron. What could you say to him today? What could be your point of view?
You know, in our sport I don't necessarily get to follow politics as much as I would like to, but political figures like Mr. Cameron, you know, they're kind of my heroes, if you like. So I would, it would be an honour to meet him. I'd probably invite him to a Grand Prix and I'd ask what he was doing in order to win the next election.
And imagine that you have an appointment with the Spanish Prime Minister, which is Mariano Rajoy. What would you say to him in a coffee? What have you seen in Spain?
I would be intrigued to find out all about his pathway to where he's got to at the moment. But, you know, politically, I'm not 100% sure what I would say to him.
And when you watch news, what makes you suffer? What worried you about when you watch news in your home, at night, every day? I mean, you are a very relevant woman and person, not only in Great Britain but also in the world, because of your career, because of your professional. Because of what you are doing. So you watch news at the evening in your house, and what worries you? What would you like to change?
Oh my gosh, I think if you were given the opportunity to try and change anything, I mean, there would be so many things that you would want to change.
Tell me too.
You know, you'd want to stop war, you'd want to stop conflict and allow people to live in peace in their countries. Any kind of human suffering, you know, that to me, you know, I think is just, in this day and age, is something where it troubles me. I think it's awful, and for whatever reason that may be. So, you know, those are the two issues, I suppose, that I always think about and, you know, take to heart, I suppose.
We've seen today your father. We've seen also that you love him very much. Tell me the two best things that your father teach you.
My dad, you know, he's a huge inspiration to me. He always has been, and I think to a lot of people, for a variety of different reasons. For the fact that he's achieved what he's achieved from, you know, very humble beginnings, but also in the face of incredible adversity as well. Following his car accident a long time ago, he's just kept going. So that fighting spirit is something of his that I admire enormously, and you know, I've never met anyone that has anything similar. It's extraordinary what Frank has to go through every day just to get out of bed in the morning. A lot of people don't know that, so it's that about my dad that I admire greatly, and I would love to aspire to, but the likelihood is minimal. But also Frank's, you know, hard work, his pure determination and his drive and passion for Formula One is remarkable and undiminishing as well. He's been in our sport racing now for 45 years. You know, he surpassed even Enzo Ferrari's record as a team principal in Formula One, and just that undeterred passion is remarkable, and the hard work that it takes to keep his team going, the fight that he still has in him is outstanding.
And tell me two big lessons from your mother.
Gosh, tricky. My mother was an amazing woman. Sadly, she passed away last year, nearly a year ago now. So perseverance. My mum was a very stoical woman. You know, she also herself had to put up with a huge amount, being a woman behind, you know, a very successful and driven man. So, but she just got on with it. So that kind of stiff upper lip, just rolling your sleeves up and getting what you need to get done. That was probably one of the biggest lessons that I ever learned from my mother.
For you, it's difficult to go ahead without your mom?
Again, it goes back to one of the biggest lessons that she taught me in life, is that if you can't change something, you just get on with it. You know, life is a gift, and you know, whatever happens, you just have to take every moment and enjoy it as best you can. And if she thought that I wasn't, then she'd be really cross with me. So
it's a great lesson. And tell me, how do you imagine yourself? I mean, this year I suppose that you imagined yourself as a winner.
Have I imagined myself as a winner?
But tell me, with Williams Martini Racing, but tell me, in 5 years, how do you imagine yourself as a woman, as a professional? Career, how would it be in 5 years?
You know, I have two ambitions in my life, and they're very simple. And one is to take Williams back to being a world championship winning Formula One team, but a consistent winner in our sport. And secondly is to, you know, get married and have my own family.
And what can you do for women to be in this industry? You are helping Susie. Susie is doing very well, but what else can you do for women like Susie, and also for the little ones, for child?
It's so important that we have more women come into our sport, although I would like to temper that by saying that there are a lot of women working in Formula One already, behind the scenes, that people don't necessarily know about. So I think the whole idea that Formula One is a very male-dominated sport, I think, is slipping away, and I think it's somewhat of a myth these days. I just don't think people realise how many women do work behind the scenes, and that's in a wide variety of jobs. But there are several women now in high-profile senior positions across a variety of teams, governing bodies, and they're all doing a fantastic job. Just being in those roles and promoting young girls coming in. And the most important thing is for the younger generations to see that women are in these positions, and therefore it can be done. So whether that's encouraging young females to take up karting, or to encourage the schoolgirls to take up maths, science and those kinds of subjects in order to become the engineers of our future. That's what's really important for me in this role.
I don't know if you know Maria de Villota. Do you know she was a pilot, a Spanish pilot, and she had an accident? What can you tell us about her? What remembrance do you have?
I didn't know Maria personally in any capacity. I obviously was aware of the fact that she was a test pilot for Marussia, but I never came into contact with her, unfortunately. What happened to her was awful, you know, and it really shook our sport when we heard the news that she'd passed away. But her being in the car set a huge example for women in motorsport and Formula One, and I know that from what I hear from her, to have left a legacy like that, she would have been proud of it.
And tell me one more thing, is more easy. How is one day in your life, everyday life, one day?
Hectic. Extremely busy, you know, running a Formula One team, making sure that we have the budget. I have lots of different roles and responsibilities within my job, so it's always busy, but it's always fantastic. I go home every night feeling that I've achieved something in order to affect change, and we're fortunate in our jobs in that we get to see what we've achieved every 2 weeks when we go racing.
And the last one, when you are 60 years old, how do you imagine your life at 60s?
That's always a difficult one, but to feel that I've achieved something, I would love to, to say that I would like to emulate the success of my father would be a pretty sweeping statement, but I'd love to play a part in, to know that I've played my part in taking Formula One back to a winning team again. Williams has played a huge part in my life, my family's life, and it's given us a hugely privileged life as well. So to give something back to the team, to take it back to the top, that's what I'd like to say that I've achieved when I get to 60.
Do you feel like you have a part in the history, a big part in the history, not only racing, but in the history of women and in general?
In the history of
of racing and in women.
I think, I don't know if that's a question that I would be able to answer. I think that's for other people to answer. But I think that, all I want to do is to be successful in what I do. So, history judge for itself, doesn't it? So we'll see.
Thank you very